Big Island or Kauai? Now, if you've got 1 week in Hawaii, this decision really does matter. And in this episode, you'll discover the simple way to pick either the Big Island or Kauai, and the planning mistake that quietly costs you the most time. Aloha and welcome to Hawaii's Best, the podcast helping you plan an unforgettable Hawaii vacation with clear, practical guidance. I'm Brian Murphy, a certified Hawaii destination expert, husband, and dad of 3, and each week I break down what actually matters for your Hawaii trip, drawing from local insights and firsthand experience so you can plan with confidence and travel with aloha. I've already did Oahu versus Maui, and that was an episode 194, link below. Last week was Maui versus Kauai, and I'll link that below as well, episode 214, and you can go back and check those out after this episode if you're thinking about either of those islands. Now, today we're talking about Big Island versus Kauai, and honestly, this is probably the most interesting comparison of this series because these two islands couldn't be more different. And I'll get to that in a minute because a quick note about this came out in December of 2025. It was the Hawaii State Board on Geographic Names officially renamed the island of Hawaii to Hawaii. Locals still refer to it as Hawaii Island, and for clarity, most travelers still say the Big Island or Big Island, and that's what I'm going to be doing moving forward in today's episode to keep things simple, because interchangeably talking about Hawaii, the collection of the islands, versus Hawaii, the specific island, is pretty confusing. And if I'll link an article below that I wrote that goes into that and a little bit. But for a lot of locals, they're still referring to Hawaii Island as the Big Island. You got to think there's a lot of businesses have branded, you got Big Island candies, and other businesses have branded their companies with Big Island. So I'm going to still be referring to Big Island because I think that is just the collective norm as far as referring to the island of Hawaii or Hawaii. So let's go ahead and start with the Big Island. And we actually spent Christmas on the Big Island. My wife, in-laws, our 3 girls, the whole crew, pretty much how we love to travel to Hawaii. The weather was amazing. It wasn't crowded at all Christmas week, and my girls absolutely loved the vibe. They're a bit older, a couple teenagers and a 10-year-old. It's a little rugged, the Big Island. It's a lot more adventurous than a lot of the other islands, although you can find a lot of adventure on the islands, but there's a little bit less touristy on the Big Island, and that's exactly what was a great fit for us. I like the resorts, but a couple resorts on the Big Island, but it's not as resorty as, say, like Maui or Oahu. Maybe if you're thinking about Christmas in Hawaii, you might want to check out episode 131. I go into that. Now, if active volcanoes are on your bucket list, Hawaii Volcanoes National Park is definitely the place for that. It's really nothing like it on Earth. You can walk across lava fields, go through lava tunnels, peer into active craters, and potentially witness lava flow in real life. And that's one of the things I try to make mention, especially when I'm doing one-on-one consultations, is that you're not guaranteed to see lava. When we were there, it wasn't erupting and we just saw plumes of smoke, which was still really cool, but nothing like it's been a show for quite a while, the amount of eruptions that have been happening. So with Kilauea possibly ramping up again between March 8th and the 15th, right now could be a really incredible window if you are lucky enough to be on the island of Hawaii. But quick tip, if you are visiting the Big Island, make sure you do bring a jacket. It gets cold up there. Weather can change fast. There's a lot of different climates across the island of Hawaii. So anyway, there's a $30 entrance fee for the park. That's definitely worth it. If you do have I think at the time we had America's Park Pass, something like that, where we were able to, get in and show our park pass. American the Beautiful is like American Beautiful National Parks Pass, able to get into National Park that way. But the Big Island is not just about volcanoes. You've got manta ray night snorkeling on the SF. You'll find that on Kona Coast on the west side of the island. Mauna Kea is great for stargazing. It's nearly like 14,000 feet up there. Punalu'u Black Sand Beach, you'll find sea turtles just hanging out. There's also a green sand beach. Now, this is kind of difficult to get to. It's a bit of a walk, but if you can make it happen, it's great. Papakolea Beach happens to be one of only 4 green sand beaches in the entire world. It kind of goes without saying, but it's important to know that the island is big. It's the Big Island for a reason. 4,028 square miles, larger than every other Hawaiian island combined. And you'll find 8 of the world's 13 climate zones on one single island. So, a tropical beach to subarctic conditions, snow, and without ever leaving the island. But it also means you can't see it all from one spot. So you gotta rent a car. You have to rent a car if you are visiting the Big Island. Because if you're staying on the Kona side, which majority of the resorts are over there, and you're driving all the way over to the other side of the island to the Volcanoes National Park, you want to plan that in because it's about a 2.5 hour drive or so to get over to the other side of the island. Just know that it's not just, hey, let's just go to the national park today. You really got to plan it, especially if you're staying on Kona. If you are on Hilo side, there's not as many places to stay over there, but there are. It's a bit more of an easier trip to be able to just get in the car and go to the national park. Quick break from today's episode. Don't worry, this isn't a sponsored ad, and I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to say thank you for listening. If this podcast has been helpful for you at all, hitting follow on your podcast app is the best way to support it. It's free, and it helps more people plan better Hawaii trips. Thanks again for listening, and let's get back to today's episode. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Kauai, the Garden Isle. We spent quite a bit of time talking about Kauai last week with Maui versus Kauai. Just a quick recap. And if Big Island is raw and it's the youngest of the islands, Kauai is the oldest of the islands. It's sculpted and just breathtaking in a completely different way. The island has been around for 5 to 6 million years, and all those years of erosion, you got to think all those years of erosion have carved into Kauai. The Pali Coast, it's 17 miles of sea cliffs, hidden beaches, waterfalls dropping straight into the ocean. But the catch is it's only accessible by boat, helicopter, or an extremely challenging 11-mile hike that I wouldn't recommend for the faint of heart. Something you definitely have to plan for, something you definitely can't just wake up and say, I'm going to go hike the Pali Coast today. Like, it doesn't just work that way. You want to do your research if you want to hike the Pali Coast. It's also worth noting that Kauai is one of the wettest places on Earth, and you're probably going to experience rain at some point during your stay. And the driest part of the island happens to be one of the biggest resort spot on the island, Poipu, South Shore. It's a bit drier. But for families, you got this experience of mountain tubing through old sugarcane canals. Maybe you've seen some of that on social media. It's a really cool experience. Kayaking the Wailea River to a hidden waterfall. We got wild chickens everywhere. Our kids loved it. We've been to Kauai a few times. It's one of the islands that I wish we'd go back to a little bit more, but there's a lot to explore. Even though it's a smaller island, there's still a lot to explore. You can stay in one spot of the island and pretty much reach anywhere where you need to go within an hour, especially, if you're staying Poipu, if you want to go up north and go to the lighthouse up there, you got about an hour right there. That's what we like about it. It's not marathon days of driving. That was one of the things we didn't quite like about Big Island. First time we went to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, didn't realize how far it was. I guess I should know better. But that's something that you're not going to see on Kauai, a little bit more compact. So kind of a quick head-to-head comparison, kind of wanted to see where each island wins, in my opinion. For beaches, I think Kauai wins. Poipu Beach is really the best beach, I think, in the world. And especially if you have younger kids, Poipu Beach is definitely a must visit. Kauai has more soft white sand beaches, calmer water, I think better swimming conditions than the Big Island. Hanalei Bay, Lidgay Beach with protected swimming areas is classic Hawaii. So the Big Island has fascinating geological beaches. You got black sand, green sand, but they're often rocky and not ideal for swimming. For snorkeling, I think the Big Island wins when compared to Kauai. It's a younger island, which means you might have some less runoff. There's better visibility. And the manta ray night dive thing on Kona Coast, it's super unique to that island. As far as nightlife, neither of these are a party destination. Things wind down pretty early, 9, 10, 11 p.m. might be pushing it. If you want evening entertainment, you can find that in a luau. The Big Island is generally, and we found this to be more budget-friendly option, and the difference can actually be pretty meaningful. For a 7-day trip for two, for example, you're looking at roughly $2,800 to $4,000 for the Big Island versus for a same trip, 7-day trip for two to Kauai, you're looking at starting around $3,600. And also, I found that Kona to be one of the cheaper options to fly into from the continental U.S., the mainland. Vacation rentals on the Big Island tend to offer better value across the board. Just be aware, do your homework. If you're thinking about a vacation rental, vet it, make sure that it is legit. That said, it's important to watch out for hidden costs that might sneak up on you. Hapuna Beach is one of the most famous beaches on the Big Island and now costs $30 for a non-resident family of 4. And that's $10 for parking plus $5 per person. So not exactly a free beach, just something to keep in mind when you're budgeting. And that's a tip that is just good to know, maybe that there might be some of those unexpected costs. Maybe by this point you're thinking, well, I could just do both. And that's totally true. But if you've got 7 days or less, highly would recommend you to stay on, just choose one island. Island hopping sounds great until you realize it's like an entire day of your vacation disappears just from checking out. You got airports, rental cars, and then you got to check back in. Usually that's not till like 3 or 4. And you're spending time and money on a day where not actually doing anything fun. You're spending it traveling. Even though like it could be maybe, from Big Island to Kauai, probably like 40, 50 minutes in air. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a whole day of doing the whole airport and checking in and checking out of hotel thing. So if you got more than a week, and you're thinking you want to make island hopping work, check out episode 125, where I do a full guide on island hopping, everything you need to know. I will say that I have done a week and I've done island hopping. For example, doing like 2 to 3 days on Oahu and then island hopping over for 4 or 5 days to Maui and then flying home from Maui. That can be doable. Maybe if you're traveling with your partner, that's something that is more doable than, say, a full-on family, grandma and grandpa and the whole thing. That can get a bit overwhelming to try to cram that in within a week. So here's the bottom line. Choose the Big Island if you want more diversity as far as geological diversity, active volcanoes, world-class snorkeling, and more flexibility in your budget, more space, not as crowded. So those are some pluses if you're thinking about choosing the Big Island. Like I said, my family went for Christmas and we go back in a heartbeat to the Big Island for sure. Now choose Kauai if you want that lush, classic tropical paradise. When you think about Hawaii, Kauai definitely delivers on that. Dramatic scenery, better beaches for young kids, a slower pace without long road trips. But if both sound good and you're still kind of going back and forth on which one to choose, there's 2 ways I can definitely help you with that. First is grab the free Big Island versus Kauai guide. First link in the show notes below goes even deeper on the decision based on the travel styles and budgets and who you're traveling with. Full disclaimer, all I ask for is an email in return. And what you'll get from putting your email in is I do a weekly newsletter, and it goes over Hawaii travel news. It goes over other guides that I've done. And I'm in the process of writing a Big Island versus Kauai, like a big blog post. And I'll have a quiz as well, because traveling to Hawaii is a big decision and it does cost a lot of money. So I want to give you the best up-to-date info and the best well-researched, well-rounded info as possible. Now, the second way I can help you is if you want a personalized plan built around your specific trip. I do one-on-one Hawaii vacation planning, and the link to book that and get more info on that is in the show notes below as well. So whatever island you choose, you're in Hawaii is going to be amazing. Pick one you think is going to be best for your trip and those that you're traveling with, and just go. Make Hawaii happen. And if you found this episode helpful, or any episode that you've listened to, if you found any of it helpful, I just ask you to hit follow on the podcast app you're listening to right now. It's free, and it's really the best way to help support the show. And while you're there, go ahead and leave an honest rating and review. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And until next time, as always, live with aloha. Mahalo for listening to Hawaii's Best. If you found today's episode helpful, make sure to hit follow on your podcast app so you don't miss future episodes. You can find all links and resources mentioned today in the show notes below. Hawaii's Best is produced by Shorebreak Media Group, edited by Easy Podcast Solutions, and with music by our friends Stick Figure.